1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your
Follow the leader in the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this, and born like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this, wish out you a new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate, then off your head. This that put the kids to bed. This that I got realness, I just kill cause it's in my DNA. I got millions, I got riches building in my DNA.
Welcome in. You are into hour 3 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. And we are still talking about Ebony K. Williams' comments about young black women going to college and getting their Mrs. degree as well as a BA, a JD, any degree that you get while you're in college. And there's been a recurring theme asking, what about love? Part of me feels like you guys are not being serious saying, what about love? Love is obviously the first level of all of this. But behind that, love doesn't pay the bills. Love is not sustainable. Just loving someone is not enough to keep a relationship going. Cisco once sang, is love enough? And the determination is no, it isn't. Because as important as it is, and we all want it, that true love that makes your heart sing, the butterflies, the spirit, after that starts to fade and you are dealt with the realities of life, how we gonna make sure that we got rent this month? Dang, do we have health insurance? Can I afford to get sick? Those conversations are real life, and that can push the love in a whole other direction.
And that's why, based off of that, we probably should just be friends forever. And with Ebony K. Williams, based off of what you just said, that might be a little dangerous then. Because wanting to get married during your college years, you're still kind of developing.
I agree.
You know what I mean? You're in school. You know what I'm saying? Why am I focused on a relationship while I'm in school, trying to write these 20-page papers? You feel me? I have this internship. I'm trying to establish my career. Why am I going to put some focus on love?
Because you are being realistic, right? Tyler Perry just told women they need to be realistic, that there are not that many 6-figure, high-earning black men. And if you want to get to it, you're going to have to change your standards, lower your standards, right? Well, the reality for marriage in black women is you are more likely to meet the man, your husband, while you were in college. And if you want to get married, that is the time, not necessarily to marry, but be marriage minded in your choices that you're making, in the people that you are dating, and, be very intentional as far as those relationships go. That is the reality when you are telling black women to be realistic and be realistic with their choices that they're making. If they want a 6-figure man, in theory, they will more likely meet them in college, setting up their career thing. If they want the marriage, men that are in college right now, in theory, according to the numbers, it could change, are more likely to marry. And they're also, the numbers are changing, as I said, but more likely to marry a woman that is of their same race. So there are a lot of things to consider when we talk about it. And if we are being realistic in the type of men that we deal with, we also have to be realistic about the goals that we have for the relationships that we get into, because time is not on our side, neither biologically nor socially.
And I think that's a problem.
I agree.
The biological aspect. Like, you're going to rush yourself into a marriage because of your biological clock. I think that's one wrong thing.
It is very wrong. And we know that it can have dire impact because, a child that you're not ready for is a whole other situation. A child that you're not ready for with someone that you're not sure that you're ready to be with is a whole other situation. So there are lots of things that come along with it. But I think the two are related. If you're telling Black women to be realistic as far as what their dating goals are and the type of men that they are looking for, you also have to be realistic with them about the timetables and the time frame based on age. Can't look at one stat and say, but ignore the other one over here. If we got to pay attention to that, we got to pay attention to both, right? I don't know. Trent?
There's so many variables and so many different layers to this conversation as it pertains to Black people and Black love. But I think that we've had a lot of things said in between breaks that make all the sense. And first is that I think people need to just start doing what's right for them. That's number one, and not have all this outside input in their relationships, because that's how relationships get messed up. Andy said something in between one of these breaks. I forgot what. That's what it was. Essentially, everybody's all looking for love. Yeah. Everybody's all lonely in a sense. Mm-hmm. And since that's the problem, and that's where we know where the communication breakdown is happening, what are we going to do to fix it? And it's a conversation that needs to be had. And it's basically something that I said last week. Black people aren't in a space to love each other enough to even wrap our minds around these different concepts. And it's all based on conversation. We don't talk enough, and we are in competition with each other. Yep. So we can't even have a conversation to understand. To really, you talk about, to your point, what our needs are, how they are or aren't being met, and how we can connect with each other on a more grounded and pure level. Because we have so much more in common, and it's all based on conversation. And I tell my friends that all the time. If y'all just talk to people and just have a normal conversation, it can lead you different places. And I laugh and I joke, but y'all not taking a 7-Eleven Bay. So you don't even know what that conversations could have been like. That could have been the 6-figure man right there, but you don't know it because you caught him on an off hour when he was walking around in flip flops and some shorts. Then you know what I'm saying? Should have been more together. And you miss out on that because I don't miss out on anything. And people have that, and people have that belief too. But I also, and I said this to you after the show last week about, we've been having this whole conversation. You attract what you are. And I mean, well, part two to this is, let's stop this right here. Just because a man is wealthy doesn't mean that automatically gets him the keys to the kingdom. Correct. And y'all got to get off of that too. So what? I missed a rich man at 7-Eleven. But where did that idea come from, though? But I'm saying, so what? I missed a rich man at 7-Eleven. There'll be another one. He might not have been that, and there will be another one and Correct. Another one. So I mean, I'm not going to get myself into it. At 0.24%. At 0.24, there is for me. Okay. Now, all right. Is he necessarily going to be the one that I want to be with? No. And I mean, I've been clear about that. But the point is, just because he's wealthy doesn't mean that he gets in. And just because he doesn't have that much money doesn't mean that he's going to be a better man. And I think that those two things are both pushed, and they need to stop it. When we come forward, we will have more on this topic. We'll have our phone call and the chat. The chat is lit. Thank you for locking in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency on low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. JW, you got 30 seconds to break it down and bring this point home for us.
Yes, I will. I will try to make it make sense. When I mentioned earlier about put your priorities in a proper perspective on a higher nature, I was referring to in terms of serving God's purpose and wills. We're placed on this earth for a reason. We're not supposed to breathe this air just to have fun or live our lives purposely. We have a purpose to serve. And one of the main purpose or goals to perpetuate the black society, be a quality society and exist and be able to thrive in the future, is for us to continue to have a black society in the future. And that would mean that we would have to start putting our priorities in proper perspective. As you said, young women, if they're fortunate enough to go to a university, well, then they can have short-term and long-term goals, and they can vet whoever quality man that their peers at their university, and I'd be best suited for them, and they can learn about that person, and then I might be the best suited husband for that particular woman. As well as, it goes back to what I stated, is to keep our race into existence. And like you said, being realistic or dealing with realities, even if you don't have a person that has a degree and you do, and you're a woman, well, there's nothing wrong with being with someone that is not at your standard or at your level or at your particular pedigree. This term settling is a word that I don't like. This new society creates these new terms and talking points and narratives and so on and so forth. And I think it's counterproductive for us. And we get caught up in all this unnecessary conversation. And what we need to do is to have some type of think tanks or rap sessions or community groups where we come together and critically think and contemplate on how we should develop in a mature fashion, because schools never taught us how to learn how to be emotionally mature, as well as other qualities that we need to know to have a practical life. And so I think these are factors that we need to consider. And I'm going to leave it at that because I can really go on, but I know time is short, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you so much for your thoughts, JW. A lot to think about. I don't know if collectively there is a conversation we can all have as far as the direction of relationships and how we can really make our connections better, because it's such an individual feeling, emotion. What one person needs in a relationship is going to vary differently from someone else, especially depending upon what age they are. And two, we are forgetting that we grow and we change as we grow. And sometimes what was a priority for us at 25 will not continue to be, even as it evolves at 37 or 42. So I do think at the heart of it, and to me, it's never out of the equation. It's never overlooked. I'm always thinking that love is step one. That is always the part. And all of the rest of the stuff are the things that come in that either complicate or enhance the situation. That's just life. It's always going to be both there. It's just a matter of breaking out which one you can deal with and what works best for you in your mix. Andy?
Have we also mentioned that possibly Ebony K. Williams might be projecting?
I did say that she might be projecting because here's the thing. Ebony is 40. She probably wants a family. It didn't work out with her first. Can't remember if it's just an engagement or if she was actually married. But the other side to that is the numbers say that what she is saying is the truth. It's not a new concept. It's something that has been included for a very, very long time. It's something that's been referenced. So if you want to, again, if the conversations have been what Black women need to realistically do in order to be in these healthy, solid relationships, and the one thing that everyone seems to keep circling back to is, girl, lower your standards. Girl, don't worry about how much money he's making. Just worry about him being a good person, which is fair. And it is half the battle, but that other side counts too. And I think if we keep encouraging people to overlook that, that is why we have a lot of these broken homes in a way too, because everyone always gives men the space and the room to find themselves, to mature, to grow up. Women grow up faster. You got this. A part of a trait of being a good woman is being able to hold it down in chaos. But those same expectations, I feel, aren't put on young men. So,
also, to Trent's point, at the last segment where you're talking about we need to have more discussions, I think part of that is the healing process. I think a lot of us, we come from trauma, you know what I mean, and we come from a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, and then we go into these relationships not fully healed. You know what I mean, and that's why a lot of the relationships don't work out. And I'm gonna say something that might be a little bit controversial, but I think that's another reason why we have a rise in homosexuality. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. What I'm saying is now, because us men ain't holding it down, you know what I'm saying, women are talking to other women. Not that it's a bad thing.
No,
like
I know.
That,
I was thinking
about it. It
changes
the male-female dynamic.
It does, and also too, on the other side of that, you've got men just sitting around complaining with each other, and then
I think when men stopped making songs for women and started making songs for each other, that's where the problem started. I'm just kidding. Listen.
You know what?
Listen, what I do think, though, is that it's a difficult conversation, right? The expectations are different. Off rip, we know that women, another realistic reality that we aren't covering is, regardless of income level, the numbers don't add up. The math is not mathing. There are not enough men. I'm not even talking about adding in all of your standards, your 6 feet, your high value, your 6K salary, all of that stuff. Just from a sheer numbers perspective, women outnumber men. So, look, there are a lot of choices that you can make. There are a lot of things that can be said. But again, all of the information, all of the advice, all of these suggestions are aimed at women.
Is it because there are more women, so they need more more options?
More strategy?
Yeah, to talk about things?
perhaps, or just tell them, hey, buck up and share. I'm just kidding about that. But I mean, these are the things that are said to it's never thrown out that within that, men gotta step up and be better people for women and for these relationships, because like Andy pointed out, marriage is for women. Why is marriage for women? Married men earn more money than single men do. Married men are considered to be in the workplace, environments, usually considered to be more stable and are looked at as a better option for promotion. Married men move up the ladder quicker, in theory. And we know married men live longer because women help them take care of their health. So there are actually more reasons for men to get married than there are for women. But we're not going to talk about that. But women are the ones that have to figure it out and get it together. All the benefit.
That's why men have to make more money.
I mean, but they're not. So,
But you just said married men do make more money. So
They do. But when they get married, are they less likely to marry us? No, I'm just playing. Honestly speaking, and this is something I want to, black men, even above the 100K salary, more than likely marry black women like 80%, 77% of the time. However, the higher the salary goes, that number drops lower, and they're more likely to step out into relationships outside of their race. So these are all the realities of all of these situations. It's a lot of stuff to consider. Fahima says, Mackie Samuels, even a generation ago, the major influence on a person was family, church, and community, not its friends, social media, and pop culture. That's an interesting point. We talk about that. I often talk about how, even you think about television back in the day when there wasn't a TV in every room, where we only had 5, channels or whatever. You watch what your parents watched. So you had more conversations or more influence surrounding things as far as them. We don't eat dinner at the dinner table together anymore. Even if you're a parent driving your kid to school, they probably have earbuds. So everybody can tap off into their own little world, and we're not getting those conversations, those cross conversations where as a child or a younger adult, you can hear and get some game from the older people's conversation, where they're getting to see what you're talking about with your friends and supply some wisdom and that exchange. It doesn't happen anymore. I mean, no.
Because everyone has a device in their hands now, just like you said.
Yeah, so it's, different times, different things. Pretty Brown Mimi says, financially successful black men tend to choose Becky. Okay, I just said, no. Here's the thing. The higher you go up on the ladder, it is true, the more likely they are to date out. However, the numbers say, and again, this study was from about 5 or 6 years ago, but the numbers say that even still, overwhelming majority, and I actually wrote about this in my book when I was talking about athletes and black athletes and their marriage statistics. The majority are marrying black women. But yeah, as that bank account goes up, the number goes lower. Like the average black man making over $100,000, I think the number was something like 87% marry black women. But as the income level gets higher, that number drops down to about 72%. So still overwhelmingly, almost 3/4 are in relationships with black women, but that 25% are just more likely to be the top of the food chain as far as financial backing. So, Prester John says, I married black. Becky's were never a consideration. Good for you. And let's see.
I think there's a lot of Prester Johns in the world. We just don't hear about them that much.
I mean, I just gave you the step, but if we're looking at entertainment, right? And I will say this is across the board. This is with black men, both hetero and gay. They're marrying out more. Not, again, not all, but the number is higher. It's just facts. I put together a list one time because I was thinking about like doing a study or doing a book of like some of the top actors and actresses across Hollywood and some of the newer ones that are not married to black women. And it was an interesting list.
That's crazy. That's actually what I was looking for right now. I was just thinking about the most powerful black men around the world and just trying to figure out who it is that they're, involved with.
I mean, again, the majority, I'm going to say this so that it is not misconstrued. The majority of black men, including black men that are making six figures, are married to black women. But the higher the salary, that number does change. So, that's just the realities of it. But Barack Obama, married to a black woman. Don Peebles, who's like one of, the billionaire Robert Williams, not, I don't think, married to a black woman. I mean, it just, listen.
Jay-Z, LeBron
James, but we are talking about entertainment and sports very specifically. If we broaden that out a little bit, the viewpoint starts to look a little different.
Well, look, I'm going to say this. This is just from my experience. Hopefully this gives positive energy for the ladies out there and for the men out there who want to get married. When I look at my immediate circle, it's a lot of black love going on. It is. It might not be at the forefront, because they're not, entertainers or anything like that. But I am surrounded by a lot of black love. They got married in their 20s and their 30s. And maybe to Ebony K. Williams' point, a lot of these individuals that I'm referring to, they met in college. So it's possible. Have faith.
It is possible, and have faith. And if you are a woman that is past college age and still looking for your boo bear, keep hope alive, baby. It is possible. Fahima says, Jill, and those white women aren't always on the same level, i.e. Tiger Woods married a nanny. That is true. I mean, listen, we know that I will say this, though, and this is a conversation we might get into one day. Some of those white women, they don't have to be, but then some of the black women they are too. I think this is a misnomer, right? I'm not saying that they don't care about it. I'm not saying that they don't look for it or it's not something that they want. But I do not believe that if we are talking entertainment and sports, those gentlemen care as much about a woman's education or her the ... behind her name as maybe the men that are in the business world or just, out in corporate America. They're not looking for the same things. They're not worried about the same things. The only time that makes a difference is if it is, they're trying to get their celebrity couple on and they want their celebrity chick in their roster so that they can say that they've had that. But otherwise, I don't think a ball player is going to be like, man, she a doctor. He may not get hyped for that, but he might get hyped that she got 5 million followers on Instagram. It's just the game. Yeah, they do. They definitely get with women to clout chase. Listen, Me Too before it was Me Too this way. You got with her, Me Too. You got that car, Me Too. You got that chain, Me Too. When we come forward, we'll have more from trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Salute the truth and the prophecy. I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA.
This is why I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years.
I never got my DNA. This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting. Money and power, the maker.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Senate leaders on both sides of the aisle are calling for the House to avoid a government shutdown. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said on the Senate floor that House Republicans need to stop catering to the whims of the hard right. Kentucky Republican and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said his colleagues need to pass short-term funding legislation and avoid a harmful and unnecessary government shutdown. The black U.S. soldier who crossed into North Korea without permission is back in American custody. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller thanked China and Sweden for helping U.S. Army Private Travis King leave North Korea. King was taken into North Korea custody in July after he bolted across the DMZ during a tour. And the Portland Trail Blazers have reportedly agreed to send NBA superstar Dame Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks as part of a 3-team deal. I'm Esther Dillard on the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
At Southern California Edison, they're installing insulated power lines and using the latest technology to help keep our communities safe from wildfire. Learn more at sce.com/mitigation.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader.
Following the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This season, your coffee orders are getting warmer, and your outfits are getting cozier. The world keeps changing, and so does COVID-19. That's why this season's COVID-19 shots have been updated. They're one of the best ways to help protect yourself against COVID-19. You can get a COVID-19 shot at the same visit as a flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Talk to your healthcare provider to learn more and schedule at vaccines.gov. And don't forget to get extra cinnamon spice. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
"You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa."
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Queen bee, want no smoke with me. Been turn this smoke up 800 degree. Whole team eat chefs cause she's a treat. Ooh, she's so bougie, bon appetit.
I'm a savage, attitude nasty. Talk big, but my bank account match it. Hood, but I'm classy. Rich, but I'm ratchet. Haters kept my name in their mouth, now they gagging. Bougie, he say the way that thing move, it's a movie. I told that boy we gotta keep it lowly.
Welcome in. You are down to the last 30 minutes of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know, the relationships related to celebrities always seems to get you guys riled up and going. It's so interesting. Got some comments from the chat. Pretty Brown Mimi, no, Gregory Calloway says, NFL Becky is a whole organization for years. Prester John says, never trust a flat button to smile. Pretty Brown Mimi says, NFL player Travis Kelce was dating a black woman. He kept that private. Meanwhile, he's prancing around with Taylor Swift. So that's not true. He and Kayla Nicole were together for years. They definitely were runwayed out, different things or whatever. What happened was Kayla said, she made the comment that he didn't spend a lot of money on her. People took that and ran with it. It wasn't that he didn't spend any. It was just, was he funding her lifestyle? She was like, I have my own. So it got kind of complicated. But yeah, he and Taylor Swift, whatever the situation is, if it's a PR thing, if it's whatever, it shot his podcast to #1 on Apple Music. Upped his jersey sales 400%. He's in the top 5 jersey sales. Her being at the game, 25 million people watched that Kansas City game the other night. That's the Taylor Swift halo effect. And of course, they've been spotted. They closed down a private restaurant or whatever. So we'll see what happens. It's different for both of them. But he definitely was not keeping the black girlfriend secret. And as a matter of fact, his last 3 girlfriends were black or women of color. So, I guess he's just trying something new too. Can't be mad at him for that.
Positive energy, but I don't think it's going to last.
It does feel a bit put upon us, and we are having to hear a great deal about it, but we'll see. I think it's exciting for her because, most of her relationships have been with sort of emo type actor guys, not this jock type. And, maybe they can have a little more fun, a little more carefree. We'll see. It is interesting, though. Some of her fans are coming to him for various reasons. We know one of his exes was like, don't do a girl like Tisha Campbell and Boomerang with the sign outside of Eddie Murphy's spot. Like, girl, he a cheater. But people, of course, are bringing up some comments that he made a few years back when he was on, I think it was Watch What Happens Live with Andy, where he said that, 3 dates, you're not giving up the draws, dog. It's a wrap. So people are, Andy, what you mean? Hey, that sounds like a rule for you? That sounds like something that you buy into? If a girl's not clapping them cheeks by date 3, it's time to move on?
I can just understand.
You could just relate to it?
I can relate to it. Not that I acted upon that, but
it makes it. Why is that relatable?
Well, because at the end of the day, we trying to smash at the end of the day. I mean, that's just what it is.
So, this is the thing, right? These are all the things that women deal with, right? So if you don't smash by date 3,
we deucing.
They deucing, probably you get regulated to the, maybe I'll swing back around to her. You're going to put your concentration everywhere. But if you do, you're kind of in this bucket of, you might have smashed a little too soon. Am I still interested? And then you got to contend with, and I got to lift you up because you only making $8.13 an hour. It's very complicated times here.
Hey, point taken.
I don't know. Prester John says worth the wait. again, these are things that are very individual to the people in the situation. I think you do yourself a disservice if you put a hard and fast date, time, or whatever on it. But I do think that there is something to be said about getting to know a person, because you could get to know the individual and find, I don't like you. Matter of fact, I don't want you to breathe in my direction. But people don't take the time to get to know that. I think one of my homies told me, they said, this was back in the day, a few years ago, they said, really, 2 weeks. Most girls are going to give in 2 weeks. And I was like, are you sure? He said, yeah. So I don't know. Andy?
Yeah, I'm joking.
I know.
But I also do think with regards to getting to know each other, there is some value in not having sex early, because once again, you get to, I used to always tell my female friends, if you truly want to know if he's really into you, close your legs. If you do that and he walks away, then you already know what it is. But if he's still around.
And your mouth.
What?
Close your legs and your mouth.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Correct.
Correct. And I'm not talking about conversation. That's all, ladies. But look, I just think it is complicated. And I think that, it always has been for women, that debate on when and where to step into a sexual relationship, because one, we know men believe or are being presented as they are the prize and they got options, and no one wants, a friend of mine, we used to always say this, people don't mind being used, they mind being discarded. So, if you start having sex with this individual and you guys are still cool, he's still sending the good morning texts and, but it may not be as consistent, they may not mind. But if they have moved on to the other girl right after it was baby, 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 and then, they put the brakes because they got what they were looking for, then that's why people get a little sensitive. No, Prester John, I was not talking about being seen and not heard. I am not a fan of... I do think that there are times when everyone's opinion are not needed, and people need to learn that a little bit more. But I wasn't telling women to stand down. I was just saying, if you're saying close your legs to men and see what happens, you got to close off all physical aspects, because, we're in a different time, and that could suffice. That's all I was saying. Trent, you've been kind of quiet over there.
Well, a lot of these things don't apply to me, as I like to remind people. And again, I don't have.
But you said you have a lot of female friends, and they come to you for advice.
And I was getting to that next. I don't have a dog in this race, but I also see both sides of it, because I have lots of male friends that complain, and lots of female friends that equally complain as well. And I like playing a relationship guru sometimes, because. It gives me an opportunity to play both sides. I'm like a double agent. I can take the things that the girls say and take it to the guys, and vice versa. So it's fun to watch. And usually there comes a resolve, because at the end of it, when you strip everything down, like I said, both sides are full of it. And both sides have equal points. But if we unravel it, both points are really the same. Just on opposite sides of the spectrum a lot of the time.
Trust factor and what they're trusting to, because, men think that their coins, their money is more valuable than a woman's sexuality. And so I think that is oftentimes...
Not all the time.
Well, by saying that, I think men feel like, hey, her having sex with me, that's just part of the game. That's part of the course. But if I give her money, that means more, and that is more value and worth more when you were kind of breaking it out.
But where does that idea come from?
Patriarchy.
Or social media. Which
no,
one?
that existed long before social media.
I
don't think that's social.
I think social
media.
Social media.
Social media has probably exacerbated it, but I don't believe that. I think that there has always been a concern of men You know, and it was storylines and things about men being used by women strictly for their financial gain or whatever. And women have always been, you know, concerned about men getting what they want and moving around. There's songs about it. Lisa, Lisa, I wonder if I take you home. That's exactly what that's about, right? When we come forward, we'll get into more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCES scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, we've had a lot to discuss tonight. This love, this relationship, this standards, with everybody just really wanting love and affection and connection.
Yep, they do. That's what it's all about. Andy called it.
I think we need to bring back the Quiet Storm Hour. You know, life has not been the same without the Quiet Storm.
The Quiet Storm Hour, and I think that we just need to start having conversations.
I agree 100% with that, but who's we? Like, where do you think the conversation? Everybody?
Everybody just needs to start talking to everybody. Remember how back in the day you used to walk down the street, oh, hey, how you doing? No one speaks to each other anymore. The art of conversation is gone. That's the issue. We don't communicate. That's the bottom line.
We communicate through our phones.
We don't communicate. Even through our phones, we don't communicate. We're more connected than ever, and we don't communicate.
So, but do you think that the evolution of such is just because of the isolation of the phone? Or do you think, you know?
I think people are afraid to be vulnerable. And I think that people are afraid to really say what is on their minds because they're too afraid to be offensive to people. I think everyone kind of walks on eggshells, and we're not really expressive because we don't want to offend anybody, and we're too we're soft.
But do you also think is that, because of social media and everyone wanting to look interesting, wanting to look like they have something to discuss, wanting to look like they have things going on, that they are always willing to tell a story. So
That's a part
you
of
worry
it.
about in your vulnerability or your sharing that you're going to be fodder for somebody's timeline. This guy called me and texted me and told me he was feeling sad and, he hadn't had any love and connection. And I told him he was a sucker. Ha ha. We do get a lot of that. Not even because I feel like these people really even want to bring these topics or have this conversation, but just because they're looking for attention and looking to look more interesting, or they saw it work for this personality and they want some of that same light and enhancement on them.
But everybody can't have a podcast.
I mean, they think that they can.
But everybody can't because you're not good at it, and your podcast isn't good, and someone should tell you.
I mean, that's why you're the keep it real friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they should be locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580 every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to midnight.
Yes.
Because we're good. And we get at the heart of the things that you want to talk about. And clearly, you guys like talking about this. So where are we at with it? The Mrs. degree, yay or nay? Should they be looking for it? Should they be thinking about it? Just considering taking their relationships where they're headed in the future.
The conversations are ongoing, and I think that so many people got into an uproar because that was a very targeted message to a certain specific group of people, and it cut out so many other people in the conversation.
Who do you think it cut out?
Everybody that's not college age or in college.
But here's the thing. Why is that triggering for someone? Because, I mean.
You know why? Because Andy said it earlier. Because people outside of that bracket, they want love and affection.
And they think they're never going to get it.
And they think they're never going to get it because now here's one more thing that's cutting them out of the program and people telling them how to live their life or what black women should do. Like y'all really need any more pressure, especially from inside the circle now.
I mean, I didn't think that she was putting out. I think that she legitimately thought that she was trying to be like.
But here's the thing: when people get cut out, they automatically get upset because they're not included.
Because she very carefully said, if this is what you are considering for your life and you want this and you are at this age. So I feel like she set it up right. Aubrey Sinclair in the chat says everyone is guarded. Everyone is trying to boss up on social media instead of being natural by nature.
That is correct. Just be yourself, because and that's the thing that we in society right now. Everyone's copying somebody else, or everybody's taking a piece of a clip they saw on YouTube, but now they're trying to regurgitate it and make it their own. It's like, girl, not only do you not have the depth or the range to even expound on this, like it's a copy, and you can't. It's
not as
stop.
good as the original.
Yeah,
Andy.
And for the folks who got left out, according to Ebony K. Williams, you're basically saying that I'm undesirable.
That is also true.
I mean, so here's the thing. That is part of it.
And now you got to settle for somebody that like make less money, and now you mad at all over at the argument.
So I don't think that she feels like she has to settle, but I mean, again, that is what is pushed. What is everybody? You getting old, girl? Why are you not married? Why is the concern about them getting older and not being married if everybody is viable at every age and you just meet your thing? It's not social media. It's societal norms, because considering women past a certain age as washed up, old, no longer desirable is not a new concept. As a matter of fact, I feel as though in the past 10 to 15 years, older women have actually gotten a lot more shine, and it's more acceptable for them to, step out and still be dating and still looked at as viable and sexy and desirable after the age of 40. I think that is something about this current era that is on a more positive note than it was a few years back. Because you think about when Tina Turner came out with What's Love Got to Do with It. She was just like 42, 43, but it was like, oh my God, she looks so, like she should be about to roll over in the grave at that point. And that's because the perception was, if you are of over 35, really, that's it. You could shut it down
and hang it up. That's crazy.
Flat screen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and we see evidence of those attitudes still kind of being out there. Think about how, I'm bringing it back to hip hop, how Nicki Minaj used to throw those shots at Little Kim and call her old. And now she is at the same age that Kim was when she dropped and was kind of, going through those things. Old is always the default insult that is thrown at women, or that women throw at each other, from other people. Take that old bleep, 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 always. Always. So it's like, it's nice to pretend like, oh, it doesn't matter as much and you guys are making a bigger deal out of it. But it's really just only been in the past couple of years that older women are thought to be viable, desirable, sexy, still of, high regard.
Yeah, because I attribute that to social media a little bit. And here's why. We have these hashtags, 40 is the new 30 or 50 is the new 20 or whatever it is, and people have kind of glamorized it in a sense and made it, more popular. I
mean, I think that's an overcorrection, though. I think the point in that is not so much as people say to immature you down, but just to show that, listen, just because you're advancing in age doesn't mean that you can't still have a full life, can't still have an exciting life, can't still be viable and sexy and get out there and do the damn thing if you choose to,
And you can.
Not just the men with the salt and pepper beards and whatever, What is the opposite of an eligible bachelor?
A MILF.
Okay. All right. I'll take that.
But
MILF, but is a MILF necessarily old? Because you could be a MILF at 25.
That's true. But, okay, cougar.
Okay. All right. Aubrey Sinclair says, if you live long enough, you're going to get old, period. And that is the goal because, listen, there are only two options. And if you don't get old, you're dead. And we don't want that.
Not at all.
Thank you, VIPs, for clocking in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. We love the conversation. We love the commentary. We love the phone calls, so keep that up. Of course, we're going to have more trending topics and headlines for you tomorrow, so make sure you are here and locked in. And we just may have another special appearance from someone. Appreciate all the conversation. Shout out to all of you in the chat. Make sure that you are, hitting that thumbs up button, locking in tomorrow. When we come forward, you will hear the best of KBLA. Thank you once again. I hope you have an amazing night. This is Jill Munroe, RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.